Recording in progress.
A vision of tomorrow's manufacturing. Products finding their way independently through the production process. In intelligent factories, machines and products communicate with each other, cooperatively driving production. Raw materials and machines are interconnected within an Internet of Things. The objective, highly flexible, individualized and resource-friendly mass production. That is the vision for the fourth industrial revolution. A look back at history. At the end of the 18th century, the first steam engines and the intelligent use of hydropower revolutionized production. The late 19th century saw the rise of electrical engineering and mass production. The first moving belt conveyor was used as long ago as 1870 in the slaughterhouses of Cincinnati, Ohio. In the mid-1970s, electronics and IT began to expand rapidly into industry. Siemens developed the first Simatic. Production became increasingly based on computer-assisted controls. The fourth industrial revolution is still a vision. Experts believe that it will only become a reality within the next 20 years. In intelligent factories, everything is interconnected wirelessly. At the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence in Kaiserslautern, this future can already be experienced right now. Research is underway here into exactly what the industrial production of tomorrow will be like.
Fabriken werden zukünftig aus Bausteinen bestehen, aus smarten oder intelligenten Bausteinen, wie man es nennen mag. Vergleichen wir das vielleicht mal so ein bisschen mit einer Lego-Steinwelt. Das heißt, wir haben standardisierte Bausteine, die wir hoffentlich relativ einfach zusammenstecken und zusammensetzen können. Jeder dieser Bausteine hat bestimmte Funktionalitäten und wir können sie zukünftig in einem solchen fabrikinternen Internet dann kombinieren.
A bottling plant for liquids, set up together with Siemens, is used to demonstrate the most important components of the intelligent factory of the future. Each bottle contains an RFID chip storing a precise description of how it has to be processed. Which liquid, which lid, and which label. At each station, the bottle communicates directly with the machine, telling it how it has to be processed. At the end, a computer checks whether the bottle has actually been produced as desired. Factories with networked machines and products are already in existence today. In the future, however, these hitherto self-contained systems will be connected together in a comprehensive network. All devices, machines and materials will be duly equipped with sensors and communications technology and connect to each other. These systems are known as cyber-physical systems. The highlight is that they communicate with each other and also control each other cooperatively.
Wenn Sie sich das Thema Industrie 4.0 angucken, dann basiert sie ja auf der Logik dieser Cyber-Physical Systems. Das heißt, Sie haben autokrate selbst arbeitende Systeme, die sich optimieren und sich gegenseitig austauschen und dadurch letzten Endes Produktion optimieren.
Ja, die Vision sieht so aus, dass wir ein Internet quasi hinunterziehen bis auf die unterste Ebene. Das heißt, jeder Sensor, jeder Aktor wäre damit quasi ein Teilnehmer eines Internet der Dinge. Jedes Gerät hat damit eine eigene IP-Adresse, ist damit adressierbar in diesem Netzwerk.
For the customers, this means tailor-made products at relatively affordable prices. For industry, it means highly flexible mass production that can be rapidly adapted to market changes. Because in the future, product life cycles will be even shorter. Another reason why it's increasingly important to depict engineering across the entire life cycle. Maintenance, for instance, is planned in from the very start.
Wir haben ja bereits in den 90er Jahren mit Totally Integrated Automation entsprechend ein Setup gewählt, wo unsere Produkte und Systeme sehr gut miteinander kommunizieren können.
At Corporate Technology in Princeton, a cyber-physical control is being researched even today. The vision, the control, and all linked sensors are connected to the internet.
One potential scenario is enabling the PLC to react to utility pricing information in building automation. We can enhance PLCs to use simulation to calculate how much to pre-cool a building, with the ultimate goal of turning off the cooling system during peak times.
But that's just the beginning.
We've prototyped capabilities in a PLC to access big data in cyberspace in real time. And we've also enabled a network of PLCs to connect to a dynamic simulation of the entire physical process.
Siemens is shaping the future of industry. Connecting the real with the virtual world of production is making it possible to enter entirely new dimensions in quality, efficiency, and flexibility. The company is well prepared for Industry 4.0.
From a manufacturing standpoint, the way we assemble this car, the way we put it together, all of this is essentially very different from another car. The Model S process stage it all starts with raw material. We have coils of aluminum, different gauges, different types of aluminum, maybe 50, 60 coils. We start the process by uncoiling the coils in a special machine we call blanking machine that allows to flatten the metal first and then cut it into flat pieces. We call them blanks. In addition to traditional blanking tools, we're using laser. And then with these pieces, we feed them to the press lines, these gigantic dies. And the press lines essentially form the panels, you know, boom. We are getting all of the parts necessary to make the body of the vehicle out of those gigantic machines. And then all of these parts, as they are finished, so to speak, are brought to the body shop.
The role of the body center is to take all the stamping panels that we make and we bring all that together in one central location. And that's where we actually put the Model S together. We'll start and we do an underbody, which is the main floor system of the car. And then from there, we'll move to body sides. That's the internal reinforcement as well as the outer skin. And inside the framing area, we take the body sides, the underbody, and the front end of the car, and we actually marriage it all together. One of the most unique things about this body center is we actually have 5 different overall joining methods for the body shell. We use adhesive, we use self-piercing rivets, we have cold metal transfer, conventional resistance welding, as well as a new Delta Spot welding system. When a body leaves the body center, it's actually a full, completed body shell ready to be prepped and painted.
You have a gigantic robot that takes the body and put it into a conveyor. It is conveyed to the paint shop. You have multiple pre-treatment, primer, base coat, clear coat. All of this is supplied with robots that have a special ability to paint in a very clean environment. You get a beautiful painted body that's coming to General Assembly, where we have these super elegant robots we call smart cart, where every cart is essentially moving through the factory by itself. It follows a magnetic strip, and essentially the cart is being assembled from inside out. We're utilizing automation to the fullest. We have a variety of robots, from the teeny little ones to huge ones that are able to move the entire body itself. One of the robots that I'm always very impressed to look at is the one that puts the seats inside the Model S. And the same robot is able to change tools, go from a seat handling device to putting the windshield, actually grab the windshield, put some glue around it, and then put the windshield onto the car, as well as do the rear glass of the vehicle. So talk about versatility here.
We have most everything we need right here in-house. We do the majority of our stamping panels ourselves. We have design engineers here at the facility, so we're very nimble and very quick at what we do.
Currently, it takes about 3 to 5 days for a Model S to go from raw material all the way to being finished on the Lambo line. It's magnificent. It's like a piece of art. We constantly try to improve process efficiency. We want to push the boundaries of what can be done by robots versus humans. So it's a constant evolution. This Tesla factory is the future of the USA and the world. That's the way I see it. We are building the future here. That's how proud I feel about this.
Hi, good morning to you all. First of all, let me wish you a happy Diwali, or some call it Deepavali. To our Tamil and Hindu friends, especially including Dr. Ramanathan. Diwali is a day generally supposed to be for knowledge and wisdom. Therefore, we are doing this webinar on a very appropriate day, I think. About the Industry 4.0 applications today, different companies think in different ways. Still, many organizations think about how Industry 4.0 could impact their businesses. Some are struggling to find the talent or the knowledge to know the best, adapt it in their unique businesses. Some are implementing changes today and preparing for the future. Others think the future smart machines will improve their businesses and wait for that technology to come. Most of you, except the observers in this forum, using so many machines in your production. When the machines are in operations, you can collect tremendous volume of data. This data can be informed for maintenance, performance, and many other things. This same data can be analyzed and identify patterns and insight that could possibly, for a human to do impossible within a reasonable time frame. Industry 4.0 offers the opportunity for manufacturers to optimize their operations quickly and efficiently, knowing what needs attention. By using data from sensors in its equipment, an African gold mine identified the problem with the oxygen level during latching. Once fixed, they were able to increase their yield by 3.7, which saved them $20 million annually. In the last session, Dr. Ramanathan quoted a very nice example of a Thailand farmhouse, how they have used Industry 4.0 techniques to improve the harvest. Now today, picking products from warehouse to getting them to ready to ship autonomous robots can quickly and safely support manufacturers. Robots move goods around Amazon warehouses, and they reduce cost and allow better use of floor space for the online retailers. Internet of Things and the cloud, a key component of Industry 4.0. Is the Internet of Things that is characterized by connecting devices. Not only does this help internal operations, but although use of cloud environment where data is stored, equipment and operations can be optimized by leveraging the insights of others using the same equipment or to allow smaller enterprises to access that technology. While Industry 4.0 still evolve, and we might not have the complete picture until we look back some time. Companies who are adapting the technology realize Industry 4.0 potential. These same companies are also grappling with how to upskill their current workforce to take the new work. Responsibilities made possible by Industry 4.0 and to recruit new employees with right skills. So without much of other explanation, let me go to introduce our first speaker. I will make a very brief introduction. At the last session, I introduced Ms. Shirley Jayawardena, who is the current president of the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry in Sri Lanka. Shirley started her chamber career in the Central Province Women Chamber of Small Industries and Commerce and Central Province Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She served as Vice President of South Asia Women's Development Forum, Executive Committee member of SAC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Vice Chair of the Sri Lanka chapter of SAC Council of Women Entrepreneurs. She is a social worker, active Lion in the Lions Clubs International District 306 C1. She was involved with many organizations, including Peradeniya Teaching Hospital Committee, Director of the Indo-Sri Lanka Cultural Association, Governing Board of the Postgraduate Institute of Science at Peradeniya University, Assistant Secretary of the Joint Alliance of Central Provincial Council. She is the current president of the Federation of Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Sri Lanka, the apex body of Sri Lankan Chamber Movement, which was established in 1973. This is the first time in the history of FCCISL a woman entrepreneur takes over the presidency. So let me present Shirley Jayawardena and for her to make the formal welcome address. Shirley, over to you. Shirley, you have to unmute and speak. Shirley, you have to unmute and speak.
Okay. Thank you, Kirti, for your introduction. And I go Eva, a very good morning and a happy Deepavali for everybody. So Dr. Ramanathan, Dr. Premaratne Samaranayake, Mrs. Samanthi Veerabahu from the Western Sydney University, Kirti Gunawardena from the FCCISS, Senior VP, and all the participants. This is the second webinar of the Industry 4.0. The other first one was a great success, you know. So that is why all of you are enthusiastic to have the second one. Especially, I warmly welcome Dr. Rama Ramanathan, Dr. Premaratne Samaranayake, and Ms. Samanthi Veerabahu. While welcoming you, I extend my appreciation for the support that you have given to our senior VP today, the moderator, Mr. Kirti Gunawardena. No? And I once again warmly welcome you all. And Kirti, I know the time you take in organizing these because you're very professional, you don't take any chances, you're up to the point, and you spend so much of time, and I do really appreciate that, and also being a moderator today. I take this opportunity to thank you all, sir, and I very warmly welcome you, Kirti. And I welcome all the participants today, and I hope you have an enjoyable session.
Thank you, Shirley, for your welcome speech. And today, of course, we have two segments, people from the industry who are the real users of Industry 4.0, and some of the academia, some of the universities, and places like Ministry of Industry, some officers. So this is how our forum today. So let me go to the agenda and introduce our first speaker, Mr. Rama K. Ramanathan. Dr. K. Ramanathan is a product of St. Benedict's College, Colombo. He did mechanical engineering and obtained his first degree from the University of Ceylon, Peradeniya. He's a master's and doctoral degree holder in industrial engineering and management from the Asian Institute of Technology. Dr. Ramanathan worked as associate professor at the School of Management of the Asian Institute of Technology, IAT, at Bangkok. He helped to design and run MBA and PhD programs in management of technology and many more programs. He has served United Nations, designed and implemented many programs over 15 countries in the Asia Pacific region. Dr. Ramanathan's current research and international consulting focus is on the transfer of application of Industry 4.0 techniques in operations and supply chain management for enhancing competitiveness and promoting a circular economy. Dr. Ramanathan currently working with School of Business at Western Sydney University. So let me invite Dr. Ramanathan, popularly known as Rama, to start his presentation. He will give you an overview of an integrated approach for assessing Industry 4.0 readiness of the firm in manufacturing. Over to you, Dr. Ramanathan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirti Gunawardena, for those kind words of introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to Mrs. Shirley Jayawardena, President of the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry Sri Lanka, for gracing this occasion and delivering her opening address. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Kirti Gunawardena, Senior Vice President, Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry Sri Lanka, for those kind words of introduction, and more than anything else, for organizing this event so brilliantly. If not for all his hard work and organization skills, our first webinar that we conducted on the 5th of August wouldn't have been the success that it was. And again, it's thanks to his perseverance and hard work that we are able to host, we are able to run this follow-up webinar today. So thank you very much, Kirti, for all your hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really going to repeat what I discussed in our very first webinar on the 5th of August. But what I'm planning to do today is to walk you through the reason why Industry 4 readiness is a very important first step before any organization decides to embark on transitioning to an Industry 4 setting. So I am aware that some of you may not recall what we discussed in the August 5th webinar. After all of you are very busy managers with so much on your plate. And so I'm planning to use this opportunity to quickly run through some of the important ideas that we discussed on the 5th of August, while at the same time adding on some new information, which I thought could be useful before my dear colleague and close friend, Dr. Prem Samaranayak takes over to demonstrate the online tool that we have developed for helping a company to assess its Industry 4 readiness. So let me start off by quickly outlining my plan of presentation. What I'm going to do is first spend a few minutes talking about the Industry 4 and overview. I'm sure that all of you know what it's all about, but nevertheless, I want to make a few important points which sometimes do go unnoticed. And then having done that, I'm going to spend some time talking about the implications of Industry 4.0 for emerging economies. And then we talk a little bit about the framework for assessing Industry 4 readiness and then how to move forward. And I hope this will serve as an introduction to what Dr. Prem is going to continue with after I conclude. Now, those of you who are watching the videos before the start of this webinar, I'm sure would have recognized what would recognize what I'm going to say. Now we are currently in what is called the fourth industrial revolution, and Industry 4.0 is at the core of it. And the main reason why there is so much excitement and enthusiasm about Industry 4.0 is that it is going to have a very major impact on the way goods and services are produced and distributed globally. It is going to have important implications, not just for the technologically advanced rich countries, but in my view, it is also going to have very significant implications for emerging economies. Now, I do not want to talk about what is Industry 1, 2, 3, and all the rest of it, which you already know. But what I do want to emphasize is the fact that for all these four industry progressions, we use the term revolution. We talk about the first industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, third and revolution, and the fourth industrial revolution. And the reason why we use the term revolution is sometimes not really well understood. People think it is just used to add a little bit of glamour to it. But the term revolution has been used for a very specific reason. The first is, of course, that all these industrial revolutions involve what we call disruptive technologies, which have actually changed the way we make things. But another reason why we use the term revolution is that along with these new technologies that come with each of these revolutions, we also need a revolutionary way of managing production. Because if we continue to use the old ways of managing production within a new industrial revolution setting, we are not going to benefit much. So what is important to remember is that along with the technological revolutions, there should also come managerial revolutions, which will revolutionize the way we organize our production processes, produce our goods, and how materials, information, and money flow through the supply chain. So the first point I want to emphasize is that the term revolution in the context of Industry 4.0 is used with a very specific emphasis on the fact that it involves both technological and managerial revolutions. The term Industry 4.0 was actually coined in Germany, and the Germans were among the first to embrace this concept and this philosophy behind Industry 4. And we see at the highest level of the German government, Angela Merkel pointed out many years ago, probably around 6-7 years ago, that we must deal quickly with the fusion of the online world and the world of industrial production. And she herself provided great amount of leadership to the German government and German businesses to embrace Industry 4.0. Now here we have the example of the deputy chairman of Bosch, who in very simple language to his shareholders points out that Industry 4.0 is the collective term for concepts and technologies needed to achieve a network production process. And we also see experts from some of the leading consulting companies who have emphasized that Industry 4.0 has truly arrived, is here to stay, and those who do not embrace it with enthusiasm are likely to miss out a lot. So you can see here the various statements that the consultants have made. Very quickly, Industry 4.0 embraces a variety of technologies, but these are some of the foundational technological advances that have helped to launch Industry 4.0. I mean, this is by no means an exhaustive list of technologies. There are many others as well. But we see here the industrial Internet of Things, the cloud, augmented reality, additive manufacturing, autonomous robots, and then analytical tools like big data and analytics, simulation, plus protecting the integrity of the information that companies possess through cybersecurity approaches. All these things have collectively come together to help launch a truly Industry 4 setting. And companies over a period of time have to become comfortable in using all of these technological advances. Now, very quickly, what is basically at the core of Industry 4.0? And as the video that you saw at the beginning of this webinar, we have what we call cyber-physical production systems, where the various machines and other peripheral units are networked. And through this network, we have what we call vertical networking of smart production systems, where production systems behave as if they have a mind of their own. And that's where artificial intelligence comes in a big way. We have horizontal integration of global value chains, where across the supply chain, companies are networked, so that we have a situation where the machines in one company can actually talk to the machines in another company. And then we have what we refer to as through engineering collaboration along the entire supply chain. So what this means is, if you want to come out with a new product, all the partners in the supply chain can work collaboratively in developing it, rather than one company developing the product, designing the product, and then throwing back the designs to various other partners in the supply chain, which of course takes more time for a new product to come to the market. But with through engineering, all the partners in the supply chain can work collaboratively together. And I shall demonstrate that in a short while through another slide, where they can work together, thereby reducing the time to market, while at the same time reducing a lot of waste and working together very cleverly, thereby resulting in greater synergy. So when we talk about Industry 4.0, remember that technological revolution or the new technologies are really there at the core of the cyber physical production system. But that cyber physical production system, without the managerial revolution or horizontal integration of the value chains, and without the true engineering capabilities, would not be of much use. So here we see an example of where technologies and managerial innovations go hand in hand to deliver greater value to the companies and customers. A lot has been written about the advantages of going in for Industry 4.0, improved product design, better customer relationships. We can actually customize what the customers want from us rather than producing and saying, here's what we have, please buy it if you like it. In fact, Industry 4.0 technologies and networks promise what we called a prosumer relationship, where the customer becomes proactive and a proactive customer becomes a prosumer. So a prosumer can actually tell us what they want and we can deliver it to them. The entire assembly process is simplified. There is less waste during production, which means we contribute quite a lot towards the creation of a circular economy because we eliminate many wastes. We can also locate manufacturing facilities close to consumers, and we shall again come to that in a short while when I talk about the new era of globalization that we are currently in. So your production becomes more agile, you can rationalize warehousing, and furthermore, you can reduce the carbon footprint of your supply chain. And very importantly, because in Industry 4, there is a great amount of component consolidation, and the chances are that we will be using additive manufacturing or 3D printing, as sometimes it is called. We will reduce the number of stock keeping units in the system, thereby reducing the holding cost of the inventory that we have. So there are many advantages to be gained. There are also problems which we have to overcome if we want to make the best out of our Industry 4 technologies. And the commonly cited problems are that we will need more investment, money will be needed, we need improved IT infrastructure, we have to re-engineer our business processes, and we need to hire the expertise that is needed. But we'll come to that towards the end of my presentation, where we'll point out that we don't have to really become a state-of-the-art company overnight. We can do all of these things gradually. There will also be concerns about cybersecurity and intellectual property theft, and we need to manage that threat. The skill profiles will change. We need a new generation of workers and managers with new skills. And of course, there is the danger that some traditional industries may not survive. There's a lot of work being done now on these issues. And I think within the next 1 or 2 years, we'll be able to speak more confidently about how these problems can be managed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we talked about networking along the supply chain, horizontal integration, let us look at this example, and this is due to, this is due to Inomata, where he says that the traditional supply chain is what he called the snake supply chain, where everything happens in a sequence and the partners are all interlinked, and he refers to it, and the Japanese are very good at drawing analogies and making diagrams which try to bring out the meaning very clearly. He calls it a snake supply chain, the traditional linear supply chain. The term linear means that everything has to happen in sequence, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. They can't happen in parallel. So he refers to this as a linear supply chain. And the very depiction of this diagram suggests that it will all take time. So for example, if a client expresses interest in a particular type of product, a customer says that, then that information has to flow all the way back sequentially to product development. And then once after that, it has to come back again sequentially until the consumer gets what they need. And needless to say, there is a lead time involved, and it takes quite a long time. In fact, it has been pointed out that in the automotive industry, many years ago, it would take at least 5 years for a company to come out with a new model of a vehicle. It has now come down, but it is still about 1.5 years. So we find that this is the traditional linear supply chain that is currently in existence. But with an industry 4.0 setting, Inomata again points out that we now have what is called an omnidirectional supply chain, and he calls it a spider supply chain. Now, the supply chain still exists, but it is no longer linear. In this omnidirectional supply chain, what we find is that all the partners co-innovate, work together in developing new products and services. And this modular structure makes it easy to add partners as and when needed. And the partners become flexible and resilient because the information about changing customer needs moves very quickly among the partners, and they can all work together in order to give the customer what they want very quickly. So the Boston Consulting Group has been doing quite a lot of work in this area, and they have come out with these interesting findings that today some of the largest companies in the world are trying to organize their supply chains using this control tower approach, and they are trying to become omnidirectional supply chains thanks to the possibilities offered by Industry 4 technologies. So as you see here, the use of Industry 4 technologies, the sensors, better flow of information, the cloud, all the rest of it has to be accompanied by this managerial innovation where the leader in the supply chain, the focal firm as it is often called, introduces this managerial innovation where it works with its partners and re-engineers everything in the form of an omnidirectional supply chain. Now, to add on to that, what are the implications for emerging economies and for manufacturing firms that are currently relying on what we called old globalization? Now, globalization became a phenomenon. Now, the globalization of business became very prominent in the 1990s. And it has been continuing. And we refer to this now as old globalization. In this old globalization, we have what is called, firstly, concentrated production. So here we have big factories located in areas where
Rama, I think we are
Rama
not
has a
getting
connection issue, no?
Rama, we don't think he.
Yeah. No, he will reconnect, I think.
We lost him.
Yeah.
No, he's coming back. No, you are muted, Rama. Rama, you are muted.
Rama, you have to unmute and speak. Yeah, now okay.
Yeah, my sincere apologies, even though I have the so-called national broadband network with unlimited data and all the rest of it, sometimes strange things happen. So I'm truly sorry. It just dropped out for a few minutes. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, can.
Yes. Okay. So under this new globalization, what we see is that we now have the possibility of distributed production, where you can have local factories that meet local demand with greater emphasis on speed to market. And we don't need these massive big factories which rely on economies of scale. And I'll come to that in my next slide, where we have an example that illustrates that. Secondly, in the old globalization, we had cross-border trade, and governments actually focused on multilateral agreements and market liberalization, and they all worked very hard to make sure that you could bring down the costs of cross-border trade. But now what we are finding is that governments are now becoming anxious, especially in the West, that there is a lot of criticism in the community that jobs are being shipped overseas and locals are not having enough jobs. And these kinds of problems had come up. And during the Trump presidency, this became a very important issue. And it is there in many other parts of the Western world as well. So what is happening is now governments are trying to introduce various regulations which are creating incentives for local production. And they are actually trying to talk about national identities that need to be developed. And many of the large companies are now very keen to do this in order to increase their access to state capital and government support. So again, this is made now possible thanks to Industry 4.0, although people sometimes rather derisively talk about what Trump said and said that he was actually talking nonsense. His advisors did know about the potential that Industry 4 can offer. And that was one of the reasons why they started saying, bring production back to the United States. Then again, you find here that under old globalization, companies were spending a lot of money gathering customer data in their various markets, and they were using this information to improve their forecasting and manage their supply chains. But now what we find is that thanks to the cloud, thanks to the tremendous potential offered by information and communication technology and its development, and the possibility of moving information across good quality information globally, business analytics, simulation, all these great new developments that have come up. The current digital customer data collection has become much lower, facilitating real-time demand planning and ongoing customer engagement. And Industry 4.0 makes this possible. And in the past, cross-border collaboration was limited, excuse me, because the costs were very high. Now, thanks to growing digital connectivity, the costs of delivering services across borders has come down, and cross-border ecosystem development has now become possible. So what we refer to as the new globalization has now started taking root thanks to the promise offered by Industry 4.0. I was just mentioning that we look at an example of setting up small factories locally. And here's an example from a company which is quite well known globally. Salomon Millet and Babolat in France, they have set up an advanced shoe factory, and they call it Advanced Shoe Factory 4.0 in France. Earlier, they used to produce these in other parts of the world where labor costs were low. But here we have the vice president of footwear at Salomon, Guillaume Mezenc, pointing out that about 10 years ago, it became apparent that the way we have been producing in Asia up to now would no longer be the unique solution in the long term with large factories, thousands of workers, and that we would have to build up our own production in France. Excuse me. And he says that new material developments, new production methods, and digital design technologies, together with ongoing digitalization and automation, have created completely new possibilities. In fact, here he's talking about Industry 4.0. So now what they are doing is they have set up this new factory in France, a very unique factory, fully automated, digitally controlled production with robots. Instead of 500 people, there will be 50 working there with the same production volume. And the idea is to change product lines more quickly, become faster, and so on. So what we are now seeing is that even if the labor costs are 10 times higher in a Western setting, it becomes feasible to move production over there. And in some instances, the wages are not even 10 times. It's much more than that, and a lot could be achieved. So given this, what we discussed under the new globalization, where we talked about smaller local factories to meet local demand with greater emphasis on speed to market, has now become a reality thanks to Industry 4.0. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. Now, having said that, what are the implications for manufacturing firms in emerging economies, such as Sri Lanka, such as many other countries in the Asia-Pacific region, the ASEAN countries? They are all emerging economies. Now, one point that we have to remember is that we cannot make all the companies in any country, whether it is an advanced country or an emerging economy, into Industry 4.0 overnight. It's not going to happen. For many, many years to come, there will still be firms at an Industry 2 stage or an Industry 3 stage, and that's fine, because they will have their own niche and they will be producing certain goods using those. But if any country is to now compete globally, there must be firms in emerging nations that should move to an Industry 4 setting. Because the reason is simply this, that emerging economies now can no longer rely on cheap labor to attract outsourced work from firms in richer nations. Because as we just saw through that example in France, the production can be moved back. The term reshoring is now being used quite extensively. Earlier, they were talking about offshoring. Now, many companies in the richer countries, the more high labor cost countries, are talking very seriously about reshoring production. And during the COVID pandemic, when supply chains got disrupted quite a bit, many of the richer countries, they realized that they are now vulnerable, because if you depend excessively on low-cost nations for a lot of your production, you could run into difficulties. So they are saying that this is not the only time that we are going to have a problem like this. These kinds of pandemics and other disruptions could occur in the future. So we should also start thinking strategically how to reshore. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. But all is not hopeless, because there's a very good example that we see from Adidas. Now, Adidas was one of the first German companies that embraced Angela Merkel's vision, and they moved very quickly into what is called setting up their speed factories. And they even announced very confidently that we are going to move a lot of our factories back to Germany. And they started work on that. And Adidas did a lot of work on in this area, and they did set up some factories. But then later they realized that it is really not producing the kind of results that they wanted purely from a financial perspective. And so what they started saying is that, why don't we set up these new Industry 4 factories, but we set those up in another country where they still have low-cost labor, but low-cost skilled labor, and factories with very good management skills. So if we take all these technologies and locate it there, we should be able to do even better. So while some will move back to the more advanced countries, there is still the potential to attract a lot of Industry 4 level factories in emerging economies if we have the right kind of skilled labor and very good manufacturing capacity. So this is why we are so interested in this project, because we sincerely feel that manufacturing firms in emerging economies should move to Industry 4.0 and become strategic Industry 4 partners with firms from other parts of the world. And this would not only improve the industrial setting in many of the emerging economies, but would also minimize the risk that we may lose out because of reshoring. Yesterday, I was participating in an international conference where one of the special sessions was on Industry 4.0, and they had invited me to participate in a panel discussion. So during the panel discussion, there was a very learned colleague from Thailand who pointed out that in Thailand, because a lot of the companies have very good manufacturing capacity and they have developed the necessary skills, many multinationals have actually transformed their manufacturing operations using robots and many other technologies. So the moment a lot of the multinationals in Thailand start going in for robotic technology and other Industry 4 technology, then you create an ecosystem where there are many companies that come into Thailand to provide support services for robotics, for software development, for providing the engineering services and so on. So the ecosystem has got created. And this ecosystem is now being tapped into by local Thai companies who themselves are now trying to adopt robotics and other Industry 4 technologies, thereby becoming very able supply chain partners to the big multinationals, not just in Thailand, but also in other parts of the world. So he was talking very confidently about the fact that Thailand would be able to meet this challenge head on and benefit from it. So that was very, very interesting to hear, although it hasn't been written about. The chances are that now we'll be getting a lot of this kind of information, which we also can use in Sri Lanka. But given all this enthusiasm, there is also some disturbing evidence that the Boston Consulting Group and the World Economic Forum have come out in a recent publication. This publication just came out very recently, where they conducted a survey globally among 1,400 manufacturing companies. And what they found out was that while all these companies that they surveyed knew about Industry 4, they realized its value, they know its importance, only 18% said they have implemented some sort of advanced manufacturing in their operations, or additive manufacturing, in their operations, which is just one technology in Industry 4. They know that it's going to have an impact, but not much has been done. They're still talking about it. They haven't really done anything about it. So that is why we see here the president of the Federation of German Industries, Ulrich Grillo, points out very sarcastically that the only success of Industry 4 in Germany is that it's on everyone's lips, where he says that they haven't really done much except talk about it. So he has been urging German industry to stop, to not just talk the talk, but he said we now have to walk the talk. So then the question arises, why is it that companies are so slow to move into an Industry 4 setting, even though they know the value? And again, I go back to a study carried out by the Boston Consulting Group, which has been doing a lot of work in Industry 4.0. And what they are pointing out is that the reason why embracing Industry 4.0 has been slow is because that many companies still think of Industry 4 as only a technology, rather than a strategic initiative that calls for new organizational behaviors. So they are simply thinking, okay, I'll buy a robot, or maybe I'll buy a new machine which has some automation in it, and then maybe that will be enough. So they try to do things very tentatively. So the study shows that this is a very big barrier that companies need to overcome. So they point out that when companies view Industry 4.0 through a technology lens and do not consider the transformational approaches that are needed to bring these technologies in and get the best out of it, the benefits you're going to gain is not that much. So the Boston Consulting Group study shows that in any organization, top management and all the senior management and right down to the shop floor level, we have to realize that we need not just to re-engineer our manufacturing processes by bringing in technology, but we must bring about the right mix of data, technology, skills, and managerial interventions. So if we do not look at it holistically, we will not be able to transition to an Industry 4 setting. And Boston Consulting Group has come out with a term, and they call these bionic companies. And what they say is that bionic companies are those that combine human and technology capabilities very cleverly. And why do they say human and technology? Because data is generated by humans, analyzed by humans, used by humans. Skills belong to humans. Managerial interventions are put in place by humans. So it's only the machines here that we have the technology here. So human and technology capabilities have to come together to create what they call a bionic company. And bionic companies, on their 2020 Digital Acceleration Index survey of 2,300 companies, show that bionic companies have doubled their earnings when compared to others. So the question is, now, how do we commence this bionic transformation journey? So to commence the bionic transformation journey, first we have to ask ourselves, where are we with respect to our Industry 4 readiness? Because unless we know where we are, we can't plan our journey into the future. We must have evidence. We must know where we stand. And that is where Industry 4 readiness assessment becomes very important. So it was with this in mind that we developed a framework for assessing the Industry 4 readiness of a firm. Because we know the importance of Industry 4, we know that it is the future, we know at some stage we have to transition to that setting. But before we plan the transition, we must know where we are with respect to Industry 4 readiness. Do we have at least some basic capabilities? or what should we do? So in order to help a company in the manufacturing sector to assess an Industry 4 setting, what we did is we did a very thorough search of information across the world through journal articles, through a lot of publications that have been put out by leading consulting companies like McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Price Waterhouse, KPMG, and many, many others. We looked at leading universities in the world, like the Warwickshire Business School, where they have done a lot of work on Industry 4. We've looked at publications of other university researchers. We looked at journal articles. And then based on that, after we looked at everything, we came to the conclusion that there are 8 major determinants that we need to look at. And these 3 major determinants are strategy and organization, plant and equipment, information technology systems and data management, human resources, product definition, managing operations with respect to energy consumption, managing operations with respect to quality, managing operations with respect to managing supply chains. So we identified these 8 determinants because, remember, we cannot remove the supply chain from Industry 4.0. We can't just only think of our own company. And so all these determinants have to be looked at holistically. So then the next question is, within each of these determinants, what do we need to look at? So what we did is, here we have these 8 determinants, which we have listed here. And within each determinant, we have certain criteria, or if you wish to, you can call them elements. So for example, if you take information technology systems and data management, within that determinant, there are many criteria that we need to look at. So then, through our search of the work that has been done across the world, we try to collect all these criteria. Now, what we want to point out is that we have not done anything that is completely only our work. What we have done is we have looked at a lot of the work done everywhere, and we have tried to bring all the ideas together and create this framework. So our contribution is collecting all this information that has been lying in bits and pieces all over the world. We are trying to bring those together and create a framework so that we can then now use all this valuable information available to assess our Industry 4 readiness. So here's the first one, rating the determinant of strategy and organization. So what we did here is, so this is the determinant we are looking at, and here are the assessment criteria. So here are the criteria we have. Extent of Industry 4 emphasis in strategy formulation and implementation, intra-firm collaboration, allocation of funds within the company for Industry 4 investment, measuring the impact of Industry 4 implementation, leadership for Industry 4, and innovation orientation. So these are the criteria we looked at. Then within each of these criteria, we tried to see what is the best in the world and what are the other intermediate levels. So I'm not going to go through all of these one by one, but what I'm saying is here, let's say, take the first one, extent of Industry 4 emphasis in strategy formulation and implementation. You're at level 0 if you have not considered it at all. Level 1 is Industry 4 is of interest at the department level, but is not incorporated into the corporate strategy. So for example, there are engineers in manufacturing who are saying, oh, I wish we could do this because this is what companies are doing in other parts of the world. So that group is aware of Industry 4.0, but they are unable to get that message across the company and to the realms of top management. Now, Industry 4.0 is recognized as important and is being introduced at a very basic level into the strategy formulation process. At that level, what it means is the company is aware of it, especially at senior management level. A top management knows that Industry 4 has arrived. We have to do something about it. But they have started introducing, so they say, okay, let's get started. Let's do something first. So they are introducing it at a very elementary level into the strategy formulation process. If you are in level 3, you have developed an Industry 4 strategy and you have started implementing it across various departments within the company or in some ways. And at the level 4, the highest level, you have an enterprise-wide Industry 4 strategy, which has been implemented and is being continuously reviewed and updated. So the question is that if you go through all these assessment criteria and go through all the levels, you can ask yourself at what level are we in our company? So for example, if you apply this in your company, the chances are we may be at, your company may be at level 2. And in the case of some companies which are actually having, which are subsidiaries of big multinational corporations, you might be at level 3 or maybe even at level 4. So every company has to ask itself, with respect to each of these criteria, where are we? Now, how do you do this? This is best done through a cross-functional team of managers in the company who sit down together and then go through all the criteria and debate and discuss and decide where we are. Now, Dr. Prem and I did a case study in a very large factory in the Asia, in one of the Asian countries. And the blue shading that I have shown here was actually what that cross-functional management team in that company decided. Because we worked with them to walk them through all these assessments. We didn't do anything. We just sat there and they consulted us via Zoom. We explained the methodology to them so they knew what to do. And then we provided clarifications and support, because they would come back and ask, oh, what do you mean by this? This is what we think. Is it correct what we are thinking? So we provided clarifications and support, and this rating, they did themselves. Similarly, so once they did that, if you see here, we have here, the first criteria is at level 2. The next 2 criteria are at level 3, then at level 2, and then the last 2 in level 3. So we have summarized this. The first one is level 2, the next 3 are in level 3, then in level 2 and level 3. So we just gave some very simple scores because we want to keep it simple. The score is not really what is important. It is the thinking and the assessment by the management that is important. But this is just to give them some numbers. So if you add all this up, they have got a total of 16, because the highest level for all of these is 4. The maximum they could have got is 24. They have got 16 out of 24, which means they're in pretty reasonable shape with respect to that strategy and organization determinant. Then we went through all the other determinants like plant and equipment. So this was their rating. So as you can see here, this determinant has several assessment criteria. And the slides that I am using, I will pass this on to Mr. Kirti Gunawardena, who will, and anyone interested could request for a copy of that. And I'm sure Kirti would be happy to pass it on to you. So if you would like to have a copy of this, you're most welcome to have it. So in the second one, we have here, again in the same company, this is how they rated it. So you can see here with respect to plant and equipment, their plant and equipment readiness for Industry 4.0, they said some of the plant and equipment can be upgraded without disruption. So what does that mean? It means some of their plant and equipment are very recent versions. But now, on top of the existing plant and equipment, you can, through the use of programmable logic controllers, sensors, and others, you can make it a little bit more intelligent to capture data on how that machine is performing. So you don't have to throw the old machine out and buy completely new versions. You can actually add on some of these peripheral technologies to the existing machine and start using that so that you can generate adequate data about the performance of the machine and to help the machine to communicate with other machines. So you can do that. Then machine and machine system infrastructure. Some machines can be controlled through information technology and have machine-to-machine connectivity capability. Then autonomously guided workpieces, which is another a term for a certain type of robotic interventions here. They are testing some of those right now in that factory. And then maintenance of plant and equipment at the highest level is where you have a full total productive maintenance program. But in this company, they confessed that they only have breakdown maintenance. It's being kept to a minimum because they only have preventive and periodic time-based maintenance. They haven't actually gone into predictive maintenance, maintenance prevention through design, and then total productive maintenance. So they again rated themselves like this. So similarly, all the others, like information technology systems and data management, with respect to a seamless system integrated information sharing. Now this becomes possible when you have very good ERP systems, cloud usage, information technology and data security, operations data collection for internal process improvement, using the data for improving performance, and then virtualization. The most advanced one would, of course, be having a digital twin. So to what extent is the company using simulation, virtualization, and so on? So again, they rated themselves along these lines. Then the next determinant is human resources. What kind of IT capabilities do you have in the company? What kind of Industry 4 digital training have you embarked upon? What kind of human-machine interface possibilities do you have? What kind of system collaboration do you have so that people work with each other better? So again, you find here there are different levels, and this is of course the highest level. So they rated themselves here. You can see here for skills for people, system collaboration, they are at level 0, where they say that they are still having the traditional system of collaboration and communication between people and systems using hard copy information. Now, whereas here you have at the highest level, fully integrated cyber physical production systems that monitor and control physical processes. Then we have here product definition, how you build intelligence into a product. Now, those of you who may have watched that video that Mr. Gunawardena had given us before the webinar started, you will recall that there was an example of a bottle with some intelligence built into it. And as that bottle moves along the assembly line, the system knows what to put into that bottle, what label to stick. So you have an intelligent product there. It's like where you have passive intelligence that is built into the product. And then the product moves along. So you can have various levels of smartness in the product. So you could have, I'm sure we have all come across printers which tell us that paper is jammed, there is a paper jam, or that we are running out of toner. So these are all small levels of intelligence that has been, smartness that has been built into the product. So here again, in an Industry 4 setting, the product definition, how do we do it? So here we have again various levels of that. Then energy consumption, and this could be very important for companies that are very energy intensive. So how do we monitor energy consumption? How do we manage energy consumption? What kind of energy systems do we have? So here again, in this company that we surveyed, almost all of those are in level 1. And this particular company was rather upset about the whole affair because they are very energy intensive. So they were telling us that, thank you for giving this to us, because now we know that we really need to do more to reduce our energy consumption. Then we have quality assurance. What kind of quality assurance do we have within the company? Because we can see here that quality assurance can be achieved in a variety of ways, including traceability in the supply chain, because quality problems can originate anywhere in the supply chain and can be passed on. So you need traceability as well. So here are the criteria for that. Then we have for managing operations within the supply chain. So here again, we start at the demand side of the supply chain, where we work with customers. Then we move along to the supply side of the supply chain. We talk about inventory management, warehouse management, transportation. What kind of level are we in? So again, each company can use this table, sit down, look at it, and decide where they are with respect to managing operations in the supply chain. So that is a very quick overview of the 8 determinants, and experienced managers like you, the moment you get that table, you will be able to very easily appreciate everything that is there. There is nothing there that is very new or something earth-shattering. It's all just a lot of information lying in bits and pieces that we have brought together and try to develop a holistic framework. So here we have the example of that company where we did the survey. So here we have the determinants, and here we have the total score for each determinant, and this is the total score. So in your own company, once you do this kind of analysis, you'll be able to develop this kind of table, and you will see that our online tool will help you to do a lot of these things. And here is a pictorial representation. You could call it a ray diagram, a web diagram, whatever you like, where you can see where this particular company is with respect to each determinant, and at the outer border, that is the maximum. So you can see here, strategy and organization, they are pretty advanced. But when it comes to many of the others, say, so for example, with respect to product definition or managing the supply chain, they are way behind. So when you have this kind of visual representation, then it becomes easy for management to look at it and say, oh, this needs looking into. Now, what we have just done here for the sake of completeness is that there are 33 criteria in those 8 determinants. So if the maximum score for each criteria is 4, then 33 by 4 will be 132. So when we look at the total, so for example, in this company, the total was 52. So what we can say is, if you have a score of 52, you could be a potentialist. Now, the reason why we chose these terms, let me just very quickly go through that. What we did is we took the 133 and tried to divide it equally into 4 segments. So we said 0 to 33, meaning you're still very low, you're rather behind, which means you're a hesitator, which means you have to get your act together and do something about it. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. If you're here between 34 to 66, 66 is approximately half of the 132 or whatever, which means that you are a potentialist. You have the potential. You already started the journey. Now you have to really hit the accelerator and start moving forward. If you are between 67 to 99, chances are that you already know quite a lot about Industry 4 and you have taken some steps and your production system is now well geared to build up, and you are now in a winning situation and you can start moving forward with greater confidence. And if you are here at the very end, you're an expert and you're a front runner. So that score that we try to give is just to jolt management into saying that if you are less than 33, oh my God, we need to do something now. But if you're here, yes, we've made a start. Let's push further. So this is just, it's purely arbitrary. There is no great scientific reason why we gave those numbers, but it is just to stimulate some thinking. Now, okay, to conclude, to come to the end of my presentation, just a couple of things that I want to point out. That what do we do with the findings? The management team can use the findings to decide what kind of feasible actions should we take. I use the term feasible very deliberately because it can't be just a pie in the sky kind of thinking. All companies don't have unlimited resources. So you have a certain amount of resources that you can allocate for this. So you got to try and ask yourself, what can we do initially? And in a short while, I'll also give you some pointers on that. What can we do initially and think of some feasible outcomes? Now, that is alone not enough. What we must also do at that point in time is, okay, this is the amount of money that we have now. These are the skills now. So let's do this first. And then when we do this, we are going to get some benefits out of that, possibly some cost savings. Let us take those savings and put that into a fund, which we will use to build further. So you got to have that kind of thinking where it should be very strategic and not just one-off, but a program over a period of time. The next year, this is what we are going to do. Within the next year, 3 years, this is what we are going to do. And in 5 years, this is where we should be. So that kind of strategic thinking should come in. So define a vision for the short term and the longer term. And I'm going to show you that implementation schema in a minute. Now, you can't do this all by yourself because remember, it requires collaborating with your supply chain partners. So identify partnerships that you need in order to move forward. Now, but the most important thing is, firstly, within your own company, make sure that you put things right. Then you can talk with your partners. Now, after you finish this exercise, there will be a lot of excitement. And in fact, in the company where we did the case study, when they did this analysis, they got all excited. But then if you leave it at that, nobody is going to take responsibility to move forward. People will say, oh, we finished this exercise, but we need someone who is now going to say, okay, I'm going to lead this initiative and we are going to work on it. So that is where we must appoint a steering committee immediately after we complete the analysis and top management says, yes, we must do something about it. Top management must appoint a steering committee headed by a senior influential manager who has the years of top management and who is well respected and who is seen as a person who can get things done. The members in the steering committee must have faith in this manager. So that manager must head the program to develop projects and programs and various actions. And then you start moving forward. Now, as you are doing that, you need to build your internal capabilities, build your skills, your training, improve your information infrastructure. A lot of things have to be done. So you build your internal capabilities. And then you must have some way of measuring how you are progressing. So you got to develop a measurement scheme for that. How are we going to measure our progress? You must develop some key performance indicators. And those should be measured so that you know whether you are moving according to plan. If you are not, if there are delays, then you got to accelerate. So that is important. So in many of your companies, you will be having people who have very good project management skills. So those are the kind of people who will be very useful in developing this kind of implementation program and measuring outcomes and then ensuring that we have reached milestones and so that we can move forward. Now, I talked about a possible implementation approach. Now, this is again a diagram that we have developed to convey our ideas in a visual form rather than in sheets and sheets of paper. This also we did based again on a review of the experience across the world. And what we are finding here is that you can't do everything at once. You can't go to level 4 next month or even next year. It's a phased approach. You got to go step by step. So the idea is that here at the bottom, this arrow shows increasing sophistication of Industry 4 application. So as you move from left to right, you're becoming stronger and stronger in terms of your Industry 4 status. So what do we do now? So you remember the determinants that we talked about. We talked about IT deployment, the products, the manufacturing. So what we found is that right at the very beginning in stage 1, one of the areas that companies can focus on with respect to manufacturing is improving your manufacturing decision making through upgrading your ERP systems, if you have not already done it. Go for your manufacturing execution systems, use SCADA, try to deploy sensors, actuators, programmable logic controllers, all of these. In fact, if you have some fairly advanced equipment already, build around this, build intelligence around it, rather than just throwing it out and trying to wait till you get money to buy something really advanced. You can, through these kind of low-cost automation approaches, build intelligence into the existing machines that you have. And there are brilliant engineers who can do that for you. You can also minimize your energy consumption, improve your quality, and start customizing your products. You can improve your product traceability and material traceability using all your sensors and other information system. Now, what you see here is that all this is very dependent on information flow. Now, in any Industry 4 setting, information flow is really the lifeblood. Without good information, a lot of things can't happen in an Industry 4 setting. So what you're essentially doing in stage 1 is making sure that you're putting your information system in order and enhancing what you're doing. You can, with respect to products, in stage 1, you can start with some passive smart products like the case study company that we talked about, where they are actually introducing these kinds of intelligence, like the example of the bottle that we talked about, that we saw in the video. You can go for digital data collection and remote monitoring. Within the company, you can enhance your information flow through digitalization and digital platforms so that communication within the company becomes easier without actually going for communicating information through hard copies and so on. And then start your program of skill development within the company. And this can never stop. It has to continue. And then start going for cloud usage, go for more secure and advanced interconnectivity, start thinking in terms of big data and analytics to gather information to see how your Industry 4 transformation activities are producing results. Then once you have done that, you can go to stage 2, where you go for automation and virtualization. Stage 3 will be flexual manufacturing. Here you enhance your smartness in products. You go for remote operations and machine-to-machine capability building with respect to IT deployment, and then eventually go for fuller machine-to-machine capability and virtualization. Your supply chain, first you start inside your company, then link your entire supply chain, both at the demand side and supply side, through digitalization and digital platforms. So this is just to give you an idea that you don't need to do everything at once, and you don't have to say, oh, all this is going to cost a lot of money, we can't do it. They will get some money and make a start and do something, and then build up on it. And this is where top management commitment needs to come in to allocate critical resources. What we have also seen is that these are some important lessons that emerge from the literature, where they point out that if you have a robust integrated IT system that integrates across the organizational hierarchy from the shop floor right up to senior management, that will really help you to get evidence in order to plan interventions, how to move forward. The clever and careful use of sensors, actuators, PLCs will help you to gather data at the shop floor, which can then be utilized by your supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, for production control and diagnosis, the manufacturing execution systems, and ERP system for better manufacturing decision making. And then using sensors and related technology, we can promote energy conservation, quality improvement, better tracing and tracking of materials, both at the shop floor and warehouse. So this is what I showed in the previous diagram in stage 1. Now, what is important is to remember that when we make these little starts, there will be some savings. And once these savings are realized, top management will become very enthusiastic, because top management likes to see that money is being saved, because that goes towards the bottom line. So the moment you start demonstrating that you can increase profits, you will get the support of top management. So start off with some projects which will definitely show cost savings. Then you will get the total support of top management, and then you can move forward very confidently. And you can tell top management that whatever savings we make through these initial interventions, let us put that into an Industry 4 development fund. And then let's use that money to build further along with additional resources that top management gives. Now, large companies are likely to move forward very fast because they have the resources and skills. Small enterprises will find it a bit more difficult. So what do? So this is where we need a lot of support from the government. Now, what kind of support can government give? And there are many things, and I'm sure that there are experienced policymakers in our group today who can think of the kind of policies that governments can introduce. And these policies must be really good policies, good, very effective, and very robust, meaning that they should be able to deliver results. They should be easy to access. So for example, you could give low-cost loans to small and medium enterprises to embark upon these programs, or you can provide outright grants, provide they come out with good proposals. You could give them tax holidays. There are many possibilities, tax deductions. There are many ways of doing things. And there are good examples in other parts of the world. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. What we can do is we can look at what Korea is doing, what is Singapore doing, what is Malaysia doing. Malaysia is very active in Industry 4. What is Thailand doing? They have a whole heap of programs which they have introduced to help companies. And we don't need to actually try to invent everything ourselves. Let's look at what others are doing see whether those can be improved to suit our context, and then we can implement it. But so that's where, again, while at the company level, we need the commitment of top management. If we really want to have Industry 4 as a very strategic initiative for national economic development, we need the commitment from the head of government. This cannot be disputed. If at the highest levels of government, we don't have support and commitment, then these policies don't work. They will never be formulated. Nothing will happen, and it will be business as usual. So my sincere plea to Mrs. Shirley Jayawardena and Mr. Kirti Gunawardena is that the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Sri Lanka should take this matter up with the highest levels of government and get the commitment of the head of government in order to develop the right kind of policies and policy instruments to help not just small and medium enterprises, but also larger organizations which also want to embrace it in a big way. So we need all that support from the government. Now to conclude, what I want to point out is that we have had extensive discussions with the Federation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry of Sri Lanka, and that's why we started this program. We have a very valuable partner in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. And we have Professor Chandana here, who has been working with us for a while. And of course, at the School of Business, our Dean is completely supportive of this initiative, has promised us all the support that he can give. So we are working collaboratively, all these three entities, to transition Sri Lanka manufacturing to an Industry 4 setting. The second webinar that we have had is not going to be the end of it. We want to continue our association and work further. And as we generate new knowledge, we want to share that with all of you. And this workshop is our second initiative, where we are going to now, my dear colleague and my brilliant colleague, I should say, Dr. Prem is one of the most brilliant academics in our university. And he has another brilliant PhD student working with him. We have Mrs. Samanthi Viraba, who has started a PhD after a lot of good work experience and a very distinguished professional in her own right. And they are going to now demonstrate how you can use this online tool that we have developed to help you to do this readiness assessment without having to wade through all this paper. The theory behind this online tool is what I explained in a short while ago, but it's very user-friendly and extremely easy to use. And later on during the question and answer session, I'll be very happy to take any questions that you may have on what I have said. And thank you again for your patience. For those of you who are there at the first webinar, if some of what I have said was very repetitive, do forgive me for that. But I thought it would be good to share all that with those who didn't attend the first webinar. So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. And I'll now pass it on to my dear colleague, Dr. Prem Samaranayak.
Shall I do a small introduction, Rama, before he starts?
Yes, please do, Kirti, yes.
Yeah, I will do a small introduction. Actually, I do not think that I need to give a summary of what you said. It was very, very clear. And Dr. Premaratna Samaranayaka, our next speaker, he obtained his BSc Engineering degree with a first-class honors postgraduate diploma in computer science and PhD from the University of Melbourne. He completed SAP certification on best practices in ERP, and he's a certified solution consultant of SAP ERP for small and mid-sized enterprises. Currently, he is a senior lecturer at Western Sydney University, Australia. His area of expertise includes supply chain management, production planning, business process management, and enterprise resource planning. He's actively engaged in research collaboration with industry and had completed several research projects in recent times, including a research project on assembly, maintenance, planning, control, and execution using SAP ERP system and many other research projects too. Let me invite Dr. Premaratna Samaranayaka, popularly known as Prem, to make his presentation. He will explain to you today how you can use a user-friendly online tool to access your Industry 4.0 readiness. Over to you, Prem.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Kirti Gunawardana, for very kind introduction, and also Dr. Rama for extraordinary, words that, of course, you always have in appreciation of work that we are doing, and my sincere gratitude to Mrs. Shirley Jayawardena, who has been supporting this, has been there in the first webinar and also continually supporting this initiative, and also my colleagues who are also involved in this project. And I know that Dr. Rama presented this first webinar on the Industry 4 readiness assessment. And now what I'm going to do is to, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to present the demonstration of the online tool, and I'll share the screen in a minute. And then because, let me just start. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, can.
Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my presentation is mainly on the demonstration of this online tool using a case study that we did complete, as Dr. Rama mentioned, on this Industry 4 readiness assessment using large glass container manufacturing in the ASEAN region. So on the front page, what you see is after you access this online tool using a password that my colleague Samanthi will explain later how you can get access to it using a password, you will get into this page. So I have already done the first access point. On the page, what we are saying, we are, of course, this has been developed by a team of researchers at Western Sydney in collaboration with our partners in Sri Lanka, Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Sri Lanka, and also Sri Lanka Institute of Information Technology. Now, this only provides the methodology, as Dr. Rama mentioned. This does not give you the implementation thing, but only provides the methodology to assess your readiness in terms of the determinants that Dr. Rama mentioned. So I'm not going to go through all of those because he very comprehensively went through the determinants in the first webinar and also in the second one. Now, as you can see on the third line, there is email address. If you wish to receive a summary of the assessment outcome once you complete the survey, you can write to Samanthi to get that report. And by also proceeding after this point, you basically consent to start the self-assessment, where we do always put this as a part of the consent agreement. Now, if I go to the first question, now one thing Dr. Rama also mentioned this, the assessment is to assessment tool is to get the kind of idea that where you are. So fundamental question of any organization on the path of Industry 4 journey has got there are three questions that we like to see answered by this. Where are we standing in terms of Industry 4? Where we should go, and also where I should start. So you can see after you go through this self-assessment, you will have a good idea of or better understanding of those three aspects. Now, to start with, we always ask this question. Ideally, we like to see you have participated in the Industry 4 workshop. And to give you feedback after completing the report, we also like to ask your the country. Of course, this is a very demographical question. Because I'm doing this survey using a real case study, I choose the country that we did this case study, being the Thailand. So it becomes one real response, and also identify a sub-sector. So we like to know what sector in manufacturing you are operating. In the case of this particular organization, it was non-metallic mineral products. So I choose those two, and then I proceed to the next one. Now you can see after that point, of course, we have got these two questions. They are compulsory. Why? Because we like to get the name of the organization and the email address so that we can send you a feedback. In my case, I'll simply say TPG as one abbreviation of this company, and also indicate the email address. So I can put my email address and proceed. With these two are compulsory field, because we like to have your email address so that we can send you a copy of the report, not just the input that you have made, but also a summary and the dashboard. Now, if I proceed with the questions under each determinant, before we go to that, we do have this question. So I probably use this 200 to 499. What is your designation in your organization? Now, this is where you may have a question, because as Dr. Rama mentioned, this may involve a cross-functional team to complete this assessment. Now, it won't be a single person. So what we really like you to do is to identify the role of the team leader who is doing this work. For example, if you've got a number of the cross-functional team members and managers, and if you do have a team leader, choose the designated role of that team leader. So for example, we had in this case study, we had number of managers, but there was also one senior manager, senior executive as part of that team. So I choose that. Then if you have got a different role, you can choose, please specify other roles. So that basically is going to be the case if you do have a small enterprise. Now, if you continue from this point, now it comes to the determinants. Now, since Dr. Rama already went through all of the determinants with very much in details, what I'll do, I will only highlight some of the determinants and going from level 0 to level 4. In this case, we have got 6 criteria under determinant 1. For the case of first criterion, we have got level 2. This is exactly what you have seen from Dr. Rama's presentation. I'm just choosing it because this is what you will be doing it as part of your assessment, online assessment. Then on the second point, we had the number 3, and also on the third criterion, we had number 3. And on the fourth one, we got level 2. Now, one thing also I like to emphasize, level 0 being the lowest level in terms of no association of Industry 4 concept or managerial innovation, whereas the level 4 being the best business practice of Industry 4. So you can, if you do read all of these elements or descriptions of each criteria, criteria, you will see the transformation or moving from level 0 being the lowest or no application of industry 4 to the best practice of this industry 4. So on the number 5, 1.5, I got number 3, level 3, and then we have got 1.6, again level 3. As you can remember, I hope, this one was very reasonably at a higher level. So I go to the next determinant, and you can see the plant and equipment. There are not many, there are always different elements under each determinant. In this case, we have only got 4. And I'm going to emphasize the 4th one, but let me first complete the first 3. And I just quickly go through those 3 and complete, and then come to the, I picked up the last one being the lowest rank element of that criteria, and you can see the breakdown maintenance kept to a minimum through preventive and periodic maintenance. Whereas this one is the best business practice of industry 4, not just total productive maintenance fully implemented and controlled by a cyber physical system, but also using sensors and collecting data and big data analytics. In this particular organization, they were also talking about having SAP Cloud Analytics as part of their implementation eventually, but not in the first stage. So because they are very low in this criteria. And if I go to the 3rd one, I probably go a bit faster because Dr. Rama has already explained all of these. On the 3rd ICT, we have got 6 criteria, and starting with the seamless system integrated information sharing, you can see it was level 2, and then the cloud usage also level 2, and the IT and data security at level 3, and all of the other criteria were at level 2. Now, if I go to the if I go quickly on this, I'm just choosing level 2 being what they have selected, and now I just go to the next determinant, that is human resources. And again, there are different criteria or a number of criteria under each determinant. In this case, we have got 4 criteria, and under IT capabilities, it was level 2, and then under industry 4 digital training, again level 2. Very interestingly, we have also got, so we got a lower rank, level 1, under the human machine interface. As you can see, this is the transformation from no direct human machine interaction to little bit of interaction at level 1. But the best practice independent monitoring built into the cyber physical system or production system. And if I go to the 4th one, that is where the company had the lowest level. So what really it tells us that yes, this company was very much aware of where they are in terms of the skills for people. And later on, when we talk about the overall dashboard, I'll point out how they use how they prioritize these things. Now we come to the product definition. Again, Dr. Rama explained this. We have got 3 criteria, and interestingly, both first and the second one rated level 0 compared to the 3rd one at level 1. This was rated the lowest determinant in their readiness assessment. Now, if you go to the managing operations, particular the energy consumption, look at there are again 3 criteria. All of them were ranked at level 1. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these, given Dr. Rama explained very much using this example earlier. So I choose the level 1 for each one of these. Now, what we are doing, we are looking at what they have done. They went through all of these and choose these. At the moment, what we are doing, we are demonstrating how you can do it online. So in the end, of course, you have to choose that and do come to the level, the determinant 7, which is the quality management. And this one got only 2 criteria, and one is ranked at level 1. The second one is ranked at level 2. Again, the descriptors will provide the better understanding of where you are when you go through this. And by completing, of course, you go to you need to complete each one of these criteria, the determinants, go to the next one. So I did not skip any one of those criteria. Now we come to the last determinant, that is managing operations, supply chain management. We got 5 criteria. In this organization, they had very low rank for most of these criteria. First, customer demand, or making the connection with the customer demand and supply chain integration, they had level 1. And on the second one, they had bit more improved level 2. And inventory management, they had all manual systems used to update. Very interestingly, they were using an ERP system, SAP, but their inventory management was at very low, and they did not have the full, they were not using the full potential of ERP. They realized that. And then on the fourth one, we have the level 1. Oh, sorry, the third one we got 0, and the fourth one we have got level 1. And the fifth one, they also had the own and customer vehicles used to deliver to customers. So they had the level 0 most of the couple of times, and then other 1 and 2 in other cases. Now you can see what you got at the end is your completed survey with all what you have entered. Now, this is what you have done. You have entered, and then you can see all of this. Also with this Qualtrics online tool, you can see this download PDF file. So once you complete, you can get the complete assessment that you had as part of the PDF. So before I pass on to Samanthi, let me also emphasize one of the other things that this company used of this assessment. Not just prioritize the different determinants or the criteria and the determinant, but also they looked at some of the interdependencies. Having had very low rank determinants, they were able to see their interdependencies. So they used those interdependencies as part of their journey into the Industry 4 implementation or adoption. What they did, they started with a very small project, and they also looked at digitalization of most of their practices and combine the product definition and also the supply chain management, the determinants 6, 7, and 8, because they thought they are very much interrelated. And also what they did, they also came up with the levels that they want to move on. Immediately they identified the product definition, and they came up with smart product ID as one of the things. So they did not want to go straight from the level that they had to the best practice, but they decided the priorities based on the assessment. So without further, I'd like to now pass it on to Samanthi to show you how you can access, and also to show you the dashboard that she came up with after completing this assessment of the case study that we completed. So Samanthi, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Prem.
I think Kirti is muted.
I will give just a brief introduction of Samanthi too. Samanthi Kumari Veerabahu is pursuing PhD at Western Sydney University, Australia. She obtained her MBA in Management of Technology from University of Moratuwa in 2017. Her first degree was in Management and Information Technology, graduating with first class honors from the University of Kelaniya in 2013. After finishing her first degree, she worked in the industry for about 5 years as a SAP functional consultant in Sri Lanka. She was a former visiting lecturer at the University of Moratuwa and University of Colombo. She currently, her current research interest includes Industry 4.0, smart supply chain management, technology readiness, and she has an interest on agricultural supply chain too. So she is the newest one joining our team from today, from Dr. Premaratna and from Dr. Rama. She is one of the most brilliant students of theirs. So let me invite Samanthi to make her presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirti, for that kind introduction. And thank you very much for Mrs. Shirley Jayawardena and the team for organizing this event. And also Dr. Rama and Dr. Prem Samaranayaka, these two lecturers are my role models in my PhD journey. So thank you very much for guiding me and giving me this opportunity to join with this project. So first of all, I would like to share my screen and then explain you today what I'm going to talk to you about Industry 4 readiness. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, can see.
Yes. So in today's my part of this workshop, I'm going to explain you about the Industry 4 Readiness Assessment online tool and how to access the tool, and also based on the self-assessment what you gone through the online survey and what type of insights you can get and how we can represent that insights in a dashboard. So first starting with for the participants' information and how to access this online survey. This online tool is used to assess the Industry 4 readiness at firm level. So once you registered for this workshop, then we will send you the survey link with the password to access this online tool. So once you complete the self-assessment, so I have already mentioned the survey link here, but in order to access this, you need a password. So I hope like once all the registered participants will get this survey link plus password in the due course. So once you complete the survey, the outcome of this self-assessment with the dashboard will be emailed to each participating organization, because in the online tool, we are taking information about email address and the organization. So now this is the kind of the dashboard we developed to give some insights and represent your where you are now in the Industry 4 journey. So now I will go through some of the hypothetical companies and hypothetical cases to explain how this dashboard looks like. So yes. Yeah, so now I'm going to walk you through this dashboard. So here you can see the very similar to what Dr. Rama and Dr. Prem explained. So we know we already, in order to become a bionic company where you integrate both technologies and the human capabilities, human skills. we need to consider where are we now and what state we want to go through in this digitalization journey. So in that case, we already mentioned in our Industry 4 readiness model, we are going to check 8 determinants. Under these 8 determinants, there are several sub-criteria. So once you go through this self-assessment tool, then you can come up with the assigned scores. So for example, I'm going to take a first, this is a very ideal scenario where the company has 132 out of 132 scores for all the determinants. But in a real case, this not the situation. So in that case, if we take another example, so I'm taking some hypothetical scenarios to explain this dashboard. So this is another, assume this is a company where they are a manufacturer of leather and related products. So in this company, we can see the overall assigned score for the self-assessment tool is 38 out of 132. That means we can categorize under potentialists. So in this particular company, if you can see, their scores for each and every determinant, they are pretty good at strategy and organization, plant and equipment, but they have more potential to improve their digitalization journey and the readiness levels for the human resource, product definition, and then energy consumption and quality management. So once we come up with this type of insights, then companies can think about what would be their future strategies in order to become experienced or in order to become expert in this journey. So next, if we take another example, this is another example. This is also the hypothetical case where this particular company is a manufacturer of chemical products or the pharmaceutical, we can assume. And in this company, we can see they are very good at plant and equipment and information technology and data system. And also their energy consumption management also good, but also they can further improve to the next level. Currently, their overall score out of 132 is 89. So we can categorize them as an experienced company, but there are more potential to improve some of these areas. So this is another hypothetical scenario we can take. And also another company, this is very similar to what Dr. Prem demonstrated. So in this company, we can see the overall assigned score through the self-assessment they are getting is 53. That means they are also the potentialists where they can improve. If you can go through this web diagram, we can see their score for the product definition is very low. So in this company, they can consider more on this area when they are in the digitalization journey. So likewise, once you come up with this type of a self-assessment of your own company, then you can think about what are the areas we need to improve and how we are progressing through this digitalization journey. And also the technology is only the one area, but in order to become successful in the Industry 4 implementation and the adoption, you need to come up with very holistic view. That's why this self-assessment tool comes into play, where you can see the holistic view of your organization by assigning these different marks, different scores for each and every criteria, which Dr. Rama explained in detail. So this is the dashboard. So once you complete this assessment tool, so we will send you this summary dashboard, and then you can make more insights about your current status. And so that's the main thing I need to present. And this is the dashboard, what it looks like. So I hope you can complete the online survey and get your scores and think about how you can improve and where are you now in the digitalization journey. And then you can come up with good strategies, operational as well as very tactical level strategies to start your digitalization journey maybe you are in the potentialist, maybe you are the experienced, or maybe you are the expert or front runners in this journey. So maybe we can share these information. So once you complete the self-assessment, I'm happy to send this type of a dashboard to each and every organization. So thank you very much. So that's all to explain about the dashboard. So thank you very much for giving me, joining me to this team and giving me this opportunity. And also I would like to work in future collaborations. So thank you, Mr. Kirti and team, and Dr. Prema and Dr. Rama.
Thank you, Samanthi. I hope it's quite clear to you what she explained there. Of course, you know what she said was according to the data, how you can see on a dashboard. So if you all have any questions, you can type on the chat box or either raise your hand and we can give the opportunity to speak. So any other options can be used here. So it's the question and answer time right now.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dinesh. Can I ask a question, Mr. Kirti?
Yes, please.
I know it's, first of all, thank you very much for sharing this knowledge with us. And it's very informative. Thank you very much for three academics for taking their time for enlightening us. I don't want to expose my company, sorry about it. My question is that because I'm from a company where we manufacture for branded labels, where we have a lot of intellectual property in related policies and a lot of understanding with our strategic partners, where we can't export certain expose certain information details. For example, in my organization, there are entities where even for our chairman to go into, he need to be informed certain entities and certain consents to be taken. With this backdrop, people might concern about sharing their strategic information. I mean, level of their business or state of their businesses with a third party. May I know about your information sharing policy or something like that? This might be a concern to people. Who's going to take the advantage of this tool. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Rama, would you like to answer?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dinesh, for that very important question. Now, the first thing that you would have noticed in the online tool is that there is no classified information that is being asked. It is the questions are mainly dealing all the 8 determinants, the criteria that are there refer to how you are managing your operations with respect to various areas like energy, quality, supply chain, and so on. So there is no question being asked on any specific details or design details or any other product, because I understand your concern. Your company may be producing for many different brands. So one brand wouldn't want another brand to know what they are doing. So in order to ensure that your business grows, you have to put in place protocols to prevent information from leaking. But in our framework, you don't need to worry about that at all because there is no confidential information being asked. It's just about how do you manage your operations. So that is all you need to focus on. For example, if you look at energy conservation, you will find that it applies across the board. So that's an area that you can work on, and you can save energy for the entire organization, which will also benefit your principals who give you the work. Similarly, your information technology systems, you can actually focus on how to share information which is relevant for each brand. How well you communicate with that principal, how well you communicate with the suppliers that you're supposed to work with respect to a particular brand. So you could actually compartmentalize those. You don't need to actually have everything in a common database. So you could still maintain confidentiality that way. But what is important is, I mean, developing your human skills, making sure that your energy quality, supply chain management, your machines operate well. These are the areas that you would focus on. And this would benefit all the brands that you're working for. So I think that concern you can actually address very easily by explaining to your senior management that we don't need to divulge anything that is secretive. But one other thing that I might want to say is that I don't know how your company works, but I do know there are many companies which actually act on behalf of certain brands. And what these brand owners do is they provide very specialized equipment to their subcontractors or to their OEMs, as they are sometimes referred to. And they say, use these machines to produce our products. So they train your people to work on those machines. Now, the difficulty is you might not be able to add sensors and PLCs and all that to those machines without getting the approval of the principal, because they would insist that you cannot touch any of the machines. And I know of certain companies where they won't even allow you to maintain the machines. They won't even allow you to open up the machines. If there is a problem, they will send a designated person who will come and maintain it or repair it for you. So with respect to plant and equipment, if you are having within your factory different divisions and each one catering to a different brand, and if that brand has given you their own specific customized plant and equipment, you might not be able to do the plant and equipment part without their approval. But the other ones are more general, which applies across the board. So I don't know, Mr. Dinesh, whether I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, I do agree with you. It doesn't request for very sensitive information. That's one thing I've also noticed. And the other thing, as you mentioned, there are certain machineries, yes, it's locked and it's operated by certain brand owners. In fact, in our company, they are in a physically separated network. That's what it's called. I mean, they will come and audit whether they are absolutely in the physically separated. That's the level of security that they wanted. Because, for example, let's say, for example, Adidas and Nike. I mean, if Nike manufacturing factory, if enter this data, let's say, for example, shoe, right? If it leaks to third party, obviously the Nike strategy, it's a kind of a snapshot of Nike strategy, so that Nike don't want to pass it to any competitor. This is where I'm coming from. Having said all these things, one request: if you can allow people to enter maybe a dummy name of the company, but still I do understand the accuracy of the data as a researchers, but you'll be able to get a deep understanding of the industry and putting other parameters in place, like industry, number of people, etc., etc. I mean, the name of the company not going to do anything here. So I don't know whether it's possible. If that can be allowed, I mean, definitely this will be very fruitful. Thank you very much.
Yes, Prem, would you like to comment on that?
Yes. I think for the purpose of giving the assessment in terms of the overall dashboard, yes, it can be dummy name that you can use. And also another thing I like to add what Dr. Rama said in terms of the confidential information. This, of course, as he mentioned, there is no confidential or there is no very specific information that we are requesting, but we are not sharing one particular organization's dashboard with other participants. So we are only sharing your score and the assessment with only you, with only your organization. So yes, you can use a dummy name, but definitely we need to have an email address where we can pass on that information. Yes, and also one other thing we always do with any research, that we always have this, we have an ethics that we declare that we do not share any confidential information with any other party. Because that is our interest. Because once we sign or once we agreed on those principles before we go any research, yes, we do not share any organization's information with any other partners who are participating in this research. So I think does that clarify your kind of question, Dinesh?
Yes, yes, thank you. And at the same time, as a suggestion, may I request if you can make a statement on this first page saying that that you are not going to, share this whatever information privacy related statement. That would be helpful. That's just a suggestion. On your first page, I have seen certain things are written in your first page before we get into the survey. There, if you can mention the participant that what you have just said would be helpful, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, that can be done. Yeah.
That we can do on the first page before you can go to the next page of doing the assessment. Yes, we can add a statement saying we'll have the information confidential, only use it for the research purpose, and only share it with the organization that provides the information, not amongst the participants. Yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dinesh. I think these our whole exercise is to see that the Sri Lankan companies benefit out of this one, and for them to get good understanding, and especially at this hour, as a support from chambers and from the universities. Can I ask at this time, since we have Dr. Chandana Perera, he has a lot of local experience also. Do you like to share something, Dr. Chandana?
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Relation to this question?
Yeah. We have some ethical clearance and strict, also confidential. Not the agreement, actually, we don't have, even though we don't have agreement, we have got the ethical clearance from the state. Our research works are ethical. There won't be any disclosure to other parties like that. Even when we have get the approval from our senior management, we are doing this kind of research, and then it is obvious that we are not going to disclose to anybody, and only the related company we are giving the information, even after the analysis.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chandana. It's like, I think, Dinesh, it's clear that, we are not going to pass this information to any third party other than that respective company who have filled that.
Can I also add one more point in terms of this ethics application? So we have gone through that process at Western Sydney for this project, but in the case of other country that we are conducting. So it's basically a replication of this in a different context in an emerging country, where we have gone through the ethics application process, and they have looked at the survey questionnaire and the framework, and they also have looked at what really the questions that we are going to ask and ratings that we are asking. So based on the that ethics approval that we have it for a replication of this work with a different. So basically that is our agreement in terms of the ethics. We are doing the research and collecting the data, and not we are not disclosing any confidential information. In this case, the confidential information is only the organization name. Yes. We are not going to share anyone's assessment outcome with any other organization that are part of this particular exercise. So basically one-to-one, where we do collect the data, we do have an email address, we pass on that information back to the organization that they can use it for their own insight and also to make their Industry 4 journey. So in terms of the assessment, we are only collecting and giving them the feedback as a one-to-one thing. Rather, we do not collect any information. We can do that, but there is a de-identified aggregation of the information. Say, for example, if we do have 50 participants who participate in this, we only can put a kind of a overall number, and we can have an aggregated outcome of many manufacturing organizations in Sri Lanka as one outcome or the result, but there is no way anyone could identify individual organization in that particular result or outcome.
Thank you, Dr. Prem. Is there any other questions that we can take from the panel? Actually, we have some local other experts also. If there's anything related here with their experience, like one is Professor Chandana, then we have Nihal Kure and Mr. Senapiris too. You know, they also can share their experiences here if there is any relevant questions.
I'm actually Dr. I'm from Bronze Engineering Private Limited. We manufacture machinery for the numerous industries in Sri Lanka. I'm wondering now, you all are doing an assessment. After the assessment, for us to let's say for us to implement or obtain this Industry 4 the requirements. How does it work beyond that? Can you please explain? Are there consultants who will do the needful for us who are connected to you all? Or I want to know what's beyond the assessment.
Dr. Prasann, actually, you know, these joint collaboration of these three organizations, Western Sydney University, SLIT, and Federation and Chamber of Commerce and Industry Sri Lanka. So what we thought was, you know, we will give some, you know, knowledge to the industries. It's, you know, like, I mean, after analyzing, you know, where do you stand? So it's up to you to, you know, use your own consultant, use your own technology. So we will guide you through how to analyze your organization. That's what you're doing. Dr. Rama or any of the other panel members, you'd like to comment on that?
Okay, I can first start with what Mr. Kirti Gunawardena said. In terms of what, the case study that we completed in one of the emerging economies in Asia, that when they attended the first webinar, the equivalent of the first webinar that we presented for our participants in Sri Lanka, they were looking at, they were exploring this Industry 4. They knew that they knew there is Industry 4 concept, technologies, and they needed to go and look at what they want to, how they can start. So they had these three fundamental questions of where are we standing, where we should go, where should start. So what we provided them with is an assessment framework that with our guidance, they completed it. So then they also participated in the second stage, like this one, they completed the self-assessment as part of the team that they had for this Industry 4 journey. Once they had the assessment using our framework and also the insight using the dashboard that Samanthi demonstrated, they had a good idea of where they stand. Then they knew where they want to prioritize. So not only they also went looked at the priorities in terms of which determinant they are going to start with, but also they had a good understanding of how they can link and interrelate these determinants in terms of connections. So then they had their own team they formed to go with that Industry 4 journey. What also they did, they had their own, in fact, with many Industry 4 journeys in the many companies, they themselves set up a different team for that. It's like a ERP implementation where you need to have a project team. So they had, yes, the companies need to start doing that. And if they need to have a consultant outside, but again, in the case of our involvement in the future, we can come in as not as consultant, but we could also involve in some kind of guidance, but we won't be the consultants. We won't be the people who really involve in the project that you are going to take. But as far as we concern, we are providing the companies with the answers or at least some guidance on those three questions. So it is up to the each and every individual organization how they look at those insights and decide what directions they need to take in terms of moving forward, either from the very lowest rank determinant or maybe the combination and likewise. So short answer, it is up to the individual organization how they want to proceed.
Kirti, may I just add to what Prem has said?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Prasanna. I think that's a very good question. The first thing is we are not affiliated with any consulting companies or anything. So as Dr. Prem pointed out, let's look at it in as two cases. Let's take large companies which have the resources and the skills, and then let's look at some medium-sized companies which may not have everything. Dr. Prem was giving the example of a very large company where we did this case study in the ASEAN region, in Thailand actually. So as he pointed out, they formed their own team to make this transition, because that is what in my presentation I was talking about, having a steering committee headed by a very senior manager and have members there. So that team was formed to implement some of the plans. So within that team, because it was cross-functional, they had experts. So you had the IT expert, you had the engineers, you had everybody, all the experts were there. So for example, if you want to improve the security of your information system, cyber security and so on, then the IT expert in that group would identify consultants who can provide them with that kind of support. So it's the company that has to identify the consultants. Similarly, the person who is in engineering, because there's a very specialized company, so they manufacture a highly specialized product. So then the engineers there know who are the state-of-the-art manufacturers of equipment specific to their industry. So if they want to buy new machines with built-in intelligence, which uses artificial intelligence, they will know how to contact them and then get their service to bring in those new machines. So in the case of a large company, you will have the expertise within the organization itself to be able to identify consultants who can help you to move forward. So I think that's a very good question that you asked, and I'm glad you asked it. The problem that arises is with mid-sized companies, because during my presentation, I was mentioning that yesterday I was at a conference where there was a lot of discussion on Industry 4.0. And I was in the panel discussion, and there were more than 250 participants at that conference. And the question that was raised is, how can small and medium enterprises, yes, they can do the assessment, but what can they do? They may not have the expertise. So that is what everyone was talking about, and that's a real problem. And at this conference, what we discussed was that this is where governments should take some steps. Because what the government should do is, if the head of the government is totally committed to all the companies moving to Industry 4 over the next 2 decades or whatever, then what they should do is they should create some specialized centers which can provide advisory services to small and medium enterprises. Now, these centers should not be really run like government departments. It should be really run like companies. Now, they should be able to provide consultancy services. Now, a good example we already had in Sri Lanka. I used to work for the National Institute of Business Management in Sri Lanka. Now, the NIBM now, of course, has become a university, and they are more into training and so on. But then when it was first established in the late 1960s and 1970s, at that time in Sri Lanka, we did not have any consulting companies to provide management consultancy services to public sector corporations and also small and medium enterprises. So that was the reason why the government at that time created the National Institute of Business Management and gave it the special mandate that you should do executive development training to improve managerial skills and also provide management consultancy services to companies that need it. So at one time, we were very heavily involved in providing consulting services, not just to large public sector corporations, but also small and medium enterprises. So I think this is the time where the government can also think of setting up these kinds of specialized centers which could provide support to small and medium enterprises. And this was the idea that was actually discussed yesterday at that conference as well, where there is a lot of interest now in doing that in many countries. In the case of Singapore, they have already done it. Singapore has the National Productivity Council, which provides all kinds of services in many advanced areas. So Singapore is well geared towards that. Malaysia is working towards that. And yesterday they were talking about doing the same thing in Indonesia, where they wanted to develop with government support institutions which will be run like small businesses, but will provide very good consultancy services to small and medium enterprises, guiding them on what to do, how to move forward. And those kinds of entities will provide information on who are the companies that can help you and so on, but they won't tell you which company to choose. You have to do it yourself, but they'll provide you with all the information you need. So I think that was being discussed, and maybe that's something that could be tried in Sri Lanka as well. Maybe FCCISL could work in that area. Yes, because sure. You have a good reputation and people trust your federation, and so that could actually lead this move to help small and medium enterprises.
Sure. Actually, Dr. Ramanathan, I think, that's what you propose is the best thing to do. Now we have in this forum officers from Ministry of Industry and, various other government departments as well from the universities also. All of them, they are part of the industrial policy formulation in Sri Lanka, and we are talking another policy for trade. So when we are formulating, these are very important areas. How you take it forward, the small and medium industries. Small and medium industries are the very much needed for a country to move forward. So therefore, it is our duty as well. We do it. Actually, Shirley and myself, both we are in the EDB committees, and we will see what can be done. And this something has to be addressed in Sri Lanka definitely. And of course, it's a good time to all the supply chains being interrupted with this COVID situation. There are new opportunities. Many countries think they should bring back their businesses or the industries that they have allowed other countries to perform. So these are good opportunity for us also to work. I think Shirley, myself, we have worked now. Probably we have to do more chamber work and see the companies in Sri Lanka, how they benefit. I think Dr. Prasanna, what he asked is so that question, even his company, does, many kind of new innovations, his father to the second generation, they have progressed in many areas. So this has to move on a progressive manner. So this is very important, all the stakeholders in this country come together to support the industries. Now, as Dr. Ramanathan mentioned, Thailand became, one of the key places in, developing this IT-related, various, companies. Now, if you take a similar example, which everyone knows, all the vehicles, the four-wheel, and all kinds of pickups coming to Sri Lanka. Now, of course, it's being stopped, but all the time came last, maybe 4 or 5 years from Thailand. So you name it, Nissan or Ford or any make you name it, they produced in Thailand. So thereby they managed to, the small and medium-sized companies, they got into their supply chain and managed to add a lot of value locally. So that is where the small companies had the growth potential in those countries. I think, this has to, we, as you mentioned rightly in your presentation, we don't have to invent the wheel. We can learn from other countries who has done already. So a lot of good case studies and examples around us. It is the government and the chambers and even the private sector has a social obligation. You all also should press the government and all the responsible organizers sessions to bring back this required thing for you all to progress. Like any country to progress, their industries, alone, only the industry people cannot do this. The infrastructure has to be set up by the government. This is very essential. We will do it probably, Dr. Chandana and, our other stakeholders involved in this project all can come together to address this issue too. Looks
Can
like.
I make a small comment, Kirti?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rama gave us an example actually, which is a very encouraging one about Thailand, how they are developing their Industry 4.0 setting to attract other countries to come in. So I was wondering whether Sri Lanka, I think according to my thinking, I think we also have a potential to do similar strategy. But of course, there are certain areas I think we need to develop. For example, the culture of instrumentation, culture of the maintenance. For example, even public sector maintenance. I think Industry 4.0 gives a lot of answers, as Dr. Prem also explained. Because downtime is at the moment sometimes high in certain very vital equipment. So these are some of the things that we can look into. And also, my mind goes back to the days that I worked with the Federation of Chambers in the project SMED, Small and Medium Enterprise Developers, where we had a similar arrangement to provide technical and managerial assignments and the consultancy to especially small and medium industries covering the whole of Sri Lanka. Of course, we also work with several other government organizations like IDB and EDB, several others, but anyway, a central organization like that, I think can be, maybe we can restart some of the things so that, as also very rightly, Dr. Basan also said, that we also have to have, we can have assessment of similar the services that are available in Sri Lanka. For example, there are people who manufacture machines, there are people who manufacture, who are capable of manufacturing. So I think with all those settings, I think it's a very good time to think about the Industry 4.0 policy at a policy level, so that we can see a very good future. I would like to get some comments from Dr. Rama, how to start a similar strategy in Sri Lanka, like what you said in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Nihal. Actually, for benefit of everyone, Nihal and I were at university together, and also Mr. Sena Pires, Nihal and I, we all did engineering together at Peradeniya, and very valued friends for now more than 50 years. I think they know an awful lot. So Nihal, there is not much that I can tell you because you know the situation there better. But I'll just share with you the experience that I had working in Thailand for several years, and also what I learned at the conference yesterday. Now, see, the thing is, in Thailand, all this didn't happen overnight. Because as you know, Thailand has this policy of attracting foreign investment for more than 50 years now, even much longer than that. One of the unique things about Thailand is everybody talks about coups in Thailand. But one thing is that whether there is government A or government B or government C, there is a common understanding in Thailand that this is the way the country's policies are to be formulated. Nobody fiddles with policies. It's just the government changes, but they have policies regarding foreign investment, policies regarding industrialization, agriculture, many things. Those policies are formulated by very highly competent people and top professionals. And when the government accepts it, after that, nobody disputes it. It gets modified, but the next government doesn't come and change everything. It continues. So there is policy continuity in that country. And one of the most important policies has been related to foreign investment. Way back even in the 1970s, the Thai government at that time gave a guarantee to all foreign investors that whatever money you bring in, you can take out anytime. You don't have to worry. And you can take your profits out after paying all the local taxes and everything. We are not going to place any constraints. And they have kept that commitment today for the last so many decades. So Thailand ranks very highly among investment-friendly nations, although there is some talk a little bit about corruption and all the rest of it. It is considered a very investment-friendly country. And you have very good labor force, very disciplined labor force. And you hardly hear of strikes and things like that. People work very hard. They are well trained. There is high rate of literacy. There are great advantages with the labor force as well there. So the foreign investment has kept on coming into Thailand over many years. So there are many big multinationals which have come in. I remember in 1977, I went to, when I was a student at AIT, we visited the Toyota factory in Thailand. Toyota had come in and started assembling cars in Thailand. And what they did is they brought all the parts as knockdown and then assembled it in Thailand. And the government said the first year you can bring everything in 100%, use the local labor, assemble it. But progressively over the next 5 to 10 years, you have to buy locally. So you can develop your own local suppliers. And they gave them tax incentives, many things. So these companies like Toyota came in, and what they did is they started looking for local engineering companies and to become partners. And they trained them and they taught them. And many of these companies way back in the 1970s started as small suppliers, and today they are big giant companies in Thailand, where they are catering not just to Toyota, but to so many other automotive firms. So their foreign investment policy also had its, as one of the most important components, the development of local companies. So all the tax benefits, incentives, everything that was given was dependent on how well you develop local companies to become your partners. And the incentive for doing all that was very great, very good tax breaks, and all your capital equipment could be brought in duty free. And they gave them land on 99-year lease and all kinds of things. All these incentives were provided. Industrial estates were created where they would have good power supply, good water supply, good roads. So the government provided all the infrastructure and the incentives. But to take advantage of the incentives, you had to also develop local industry. So their local companies started developing very fast. And today you find in Thailand, there are so many multinationals operating huge factories. So when you have all this happening, another ecosystem develops within the country, where people come in, where other foreign companies come in to provide maintenance services, support services, engineering services. So now all the multinationals in Thailand, they have started going in for robotics and so on. And then the ecosystem starts developing to provide software, to design robots, to manufacture those. So they come in. Now the advantage is when that kind of ecosystem is set up, other local companies can also use their services. So you find that when you have foreign investment policies which are very cleverly formulated and sustained over several years, then confidence builds up and then new companies come in. And then the local companies also started benefiting because you create a whole new ecosystem now. So this is actually at the heart of Thailand's growth. It is not something that happened just within a few years.
Yes.
But the great thing is that they never let the momentum go down. When they started, they kept on building up the momentum. And even today, it's considered to be one of the most popular places for foreign investment because it has such a good infrastructure. So I don't know, Nihal, whether I answered your question, but
thank you, thank you, Dr. Rama. You answered very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanathan. I think we are almost just passing the time that we had to conclude. I think Dr. Ramanathan gave a very nice concluding remark also, answering Nihal's question. So actually, that's what that is the biggest problem in Sri Lanka, because what happens is every government, even every minister in Sri Lanka is changing policies. So now that is something sad. In other countries, once the policy is set up, so it's moving. So the classic example is Thailand. So that is why I said, even on the previously when I am talking, today in Asia, any pickup, you name it, they manufacture in Thailand. So thereby, they have supported so many small and medium-sized industries to do the seed to. Now, if you just go to internet and search, so many equipments. If you want to buy a shell or light or different kind of light or something like that, Thailand has manufacturers for all those vehicles. because they produce fast and they ship it out also very, very fast. So the reason is they have that infrastructure. They have small other companies has developed. They sell to large companies, and in the meantime, they sell it online, retail, all those business also they acquire. So I think as the conclusion, I think in Dr. Rama's presentation, he gave a lot of points and a lot of things to do, how the supply chain works, and working together, reduce waste, and meet customer requirements better with the 4.0 setting. Then offshore to reshore. You can bring back the businesses we went from your countries to other countries. That's something interesting. And in the readiness assessment, he explained, how organization can rate themselves to see, whether this is achievable to them or they are far from to achieve Industry 4.0 setting. So however it is, it's very important for all the organizations to know where are they staying right now. And, as a team, as an organization, they can take steps to move forward as a team, building the synergies, building the skills within their organizations, and, getting support from the others. Today, the situation is really advantage now. If you take the supply chain disruption in the world today with the COVID, everyone is really disturbed with this situation. Now, the earlier situation, the best situation that everyone was thinking, okay, you go to a place where you can buy your supplies cheap, and that is how you can bring down the cost of the product, can bring down. And in the meantime, so thereby you can have a good penetration in the market with your products. Now today it has come to a situation, thinking more than the price, the reliability. So that means, there are a lot of opportunities for countries like Sri Lanka to develop this Industry 4.0 setting. If you cannot achieve straight away, as Dr. Ramanathan and Dr. Prem very clearly mentioned, you go step by step process, over a period, then you can achieve something good for your own organization. I think we have to thank Dr. Ramanathan, Dr. Premaratna, and Samanthi from the Western Sydney University. So they did a great contribution. These are support your motherland. All of you are also from Sri Lanka, gone to different countries, but still have the willingness to support the industry in Sri Lanka. That's, I think, how whole collaboration is something like that. All the, in our organizing team, all the members are, got the first degree from a local university, and we, all of us, has the same thinking, that we are a country can be developed. We are a country has a potential. Why we are not moving forward. So that's why all our efforts are. I think Shirley, you are still there. Thank you for being with us all the time and supporting me. I think, we have a big role to play. We also has to, go to these ministries and organizations and press them to have right policies in place and to continue them with improvements, not with sudden changes and, becoming unpredictable country. So with thanking all these members and the other team members of SLIT, Professor Chandana, then Sena, Mr. Sena Piris, and Engineer Nihal Kure. So they have been in our team right throughout this initiative. Thank you so much. And we had a fantastic participation. Most of the people, when they're leaving also, they were so courteous to send even a message and leave from the webinar. So thank you. I do not see a better audience than you all. My request to you is to take advantage of this great opportunity. We have created something for you to benefit. So take advantage, and thank you for participating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Samanthi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kirti. I will share my slides with you.
Okay.
You can send it to those who are interested.
Sure. If anyone wants, if they send me a mail, I will share with them.
Thank you, Kirti. Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And
thank
very,
you.
very nice. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ram.
And
Thank you,
Chandana.
there are many messages to compliment
Thank you
and
so much.
thanking and all that. I will share
Thank you,
everything
Samanthi.
with you.
Samanthi, you did a great job with the Qualtrics survey. She developed this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ram, for
Okay.
your guidance.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Samanthi, for your great contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Kirti.
Okay,
She'll
thank
be
you.
involved with us for a very long time.
Yes, sir.
How are you going to spend your Diwali?
Oh, today no Diwali. It was very quite busy, a very busy day. And anyway, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Everyone is working today, so I don't think we are really going to do much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Then I will end the session.
Okay,
Thank you very much, all. Thank you. See you.
Bye.
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 Bye.